Empire. The first week of NFL free agency brings quite some intriguing storylines. And as we remain hunkered down with this coronavirus craziness going on, we're going to tackle it all. What's up, everybody? It's Mike Jones. Thanks for coming back for another episode of the Football Jones podcast. I hope you are well. I hope you are healthy. I hope you are safe, you and your family. Thanks for listening. As I said, we're going to tackle the latest NFL free agency buzz, what all these signings and departures and comings and goings mean. I've got my buddy Lorenzo Reyes from USA Today Sports. We're going to get into it all. And we got Tom Brady to talk about. We got other potential quarterback moves, other big name signings to talk about. And, it's a crazy time in this world, but thankfully we have a little bit of sports transactions at least to help serve as a little diversion. Again, my thoughts and prayers are with you all. Hope that we can ride this thing out and everybody remains healthy and, that we'll get back to normal soon. But anyway, here we are, my buddy Lorenzo Reyes and I. We're going to tackle all the free agency stuff when we come back. Here we are with my guy Lorenzo Reyes from USA Today Sports. We are just like you, trying to survive in this crazy time. The NFL offseason is still cranking along with free agency, but it's not fully going because draft visits are off and OTAs, which should have been gearing up for some teams in a couple weeks, aren't going to be taking place. So, just like everybody, we're doing our best and we're taking a look at free agency. So a little less than a week, roughly a week since the negotiation window was in the books. We've had some big name signings, some surprise signings, some, guys, a lot of guys with names are still sitting out there. So what's up, Zoe, and what have you thought so far of this free agency window?
Hey, Mike. I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. Hanging in there. But you know what? This is my favorite time of free agency because I feel like this is when smart teams get value. This week right here where it's like, teams have overspent those big name guys who are up for their second contracts after strong rookie contracts. Right. They got locked up, and now this is where smart teams fill in their roster and get contributors. I think the surprise, honestly, and I know there were signs about this, but the Tom Brady thing, the way it just unfolded surprised me because I feel like there was this buzz before about this potential huge market. And then when Tom announces that he's not returning to the Patriots, I think there were two teams, right? Maybe three if you consider the Raiders, a few people that put out feelers, but as far as offers, really concrete offers, I was just surprised by the lack of a market on Brady, one, and two, how quickly that deal got done. And I know this has been in the works, but as far as just like, just letting things play out and then just, seeing what else is out there, because for Tom, this is like his last move, right? Like this is where he's finishing his career. It's a big decision for a guy whose legacy is cemented in New England. And there's a lot at play here. And I actually like the fit because I think with Bruce Arians, it's a more relaxed environment. I think Tom will be, more comfortable. And Bruce Arians is a brilliant offensive coach. You've got plenty of weapons there. The defense is young and improving. So it could work. But this is also a team that hasn't really had success.
No, they haven't made the playoffs. I think it was 2007?
Something like that, yeah.
Something crazy like that. When I was writing about him going there, I looked back and I couldn't believe that it's been as long as it was. And I was just like, wow, like there are playoff droughts, but this is a real playoff drought. This team has not even come close, and
what was that, Josh Freeman?
Right. And I was just so surprised by the move just because of the fact that I thought that Brady is going to go somewhere that's close. If he's going to leave New England, He's going to go somewhere that's close to contending. Like,
I thought the Colts would have been a nice fit, but it's tough with that rivalry. I know.
Yeah, and it's Indy. And then I thought, everybody, obviously thought that Tennessee was gonna, be a team. And then I was like, okay, when Tennessee did Tannehill, I was like, all right, well, he's going back to Cali. Maybe he doesn't care about winning so much. He's gonna be close to his production company, just launching everything. And then it was Tampa. But it makes sense from the fact, like you said, Bruce Arians is brilliant. They've got a really good defense. They didn't have a bad year, even though their quarterback threw 7 pick sixes. So a lot of those games were decided by a touchdown or less. Flip that, cut out half of those turnovers, those 30 turnovers from
plus the fumbles.
Plus fumbles.
Yeah.
And maybe the outcome's different, but also he avoids being in the same division and conference as Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
So if he had gone to the Chargers, he would have had to face Mahomes twice a year. Now you're in the NFC South where, okay, the Saints are on the downslide, I think. It seems like they're not going to be bad, but it just seems like that
their window's tight. Their window's tight, man.
Right.
They got to do it this year or that's about it, right? Like, I mean, unless you feel like you really love Taysom Hill, that's a big if. Yeah. Like, that's a huge if as far as a consistent franchise quarterback. And obviously they value him very highly, putting a first-round tender on him. That's fine. But, you can – let me put it like this. You can love your spouse. You can think like, man, this person is the greatest. But that doesn't mean that in practice or in theory it works.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I agree with you on the Saints.
The Saints, and then the Falcons, you just never know with them.
Man, the Falcons – I wanted to talk about them because I feel like they, when you watch like old, like classic college basketball games and you see guys that you haven't heard of that had like the big names and hype and you're like, oh man, like I can't think of them now, like Juan Dixon back in like Maryland, like, oh man, like he was a player. The Falcons are like just stockpiling dudes that were really lauded coming out of college, but haven't done a whole lot.
It's hard because, look, I thought they were going to be decent last year, and they really struggled out the gates, and it looked like Dan Quinn was going to get fired. He revamps his coaching staff down the stretch of the season, and they make a charge. They're like, oh, okay, well, he saved his job. He made some changes. Maybe they'll be okay, but I'm not scared of them. And then you look at the Panthers. I'm definitely not scared of them. No. So Brady's like, hey, this is probably his best shot of getting out of the division.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's a good point. And I agree exactly with what you said, because if you think that the Buccaneers were actually contending kind of for a wild card spot there at the end, and granted, a lot of it was just that the NFC was they were pretty top heavy. It was a deep conference, but the Bucs were just in it. Like they just improved. They were in it. If you think that Jameis throws 17 interceptions, they would probably win at least a few more games. So I think with Brady, the pressure isn't necessarily on either, because I feel like, number one, Tampa's not a huge market. I think there will be a ton of interest, obviously, because he's Tom Brady. But I like the fit. I do like the fit. It's just, I in the end, I always figured, as tense as it was, as much as you were hearing that, Tom really isn't happy in New England, as much as you would hear those whispers, I always thought they would work something out. But
they could have, and he didn't want to. Robert Kraft said it last week. If Brady had wanted to be there, they would have worked something out. Brady was just like, you know what, screw this. I want to be happy, and I'm tired of, I'm tired of just sucking it up.
Yeah.
This marriage, and I want to be happy.
Really quickly, those Robert Kraft comments. To me, it sounded a certain way. Do you think that he was kind of throwing Bill under the bus a little bit?
Oh, I mean, look, we know Robert Kraft loves Tom Brady.
Yes, he does.
And I look, Belichick's got all the power and everything, but you know that Kraft probably had told him, look, it's Brady. This is my team, and we're going to make this work if he wants to. And so I do think that there was a little bit of a, you know what, it wasn't because of me that we didn't get it done.
Because he knows his fans aren't happy.
Right.
Right.
Tom didn't want to be here, but why would Tom Brady not want to be there when he's got an owner who loves him as much, a fan base that loves him as much? So I do think it was a little veiled shot at Belichick
Yeah.
because, as we know, Belichick doesn't suck up to anybody. If he had called Brady and said, look, let's stick together, let's get this thing, let's take one more run, it would have worked out.
But first let me add a little context from a few conversations that I've had, and then I'll ask you a question. The thing with Tom, I mean, this goes back to before the Jimmy Garoppolo situation,
right.
But when Jimmy was there and was up for a new contract, basically, my understanding was that Robert Kraft did not want to pay two players starter money, which he was going to have to do. And the sense that I got was that Bill was strongly weighing a situation where he keeps Jimmy and doesn't hold on to Tom.
Right.
Just considering it at the very least. And at some point, I think Robert Kraft, again, from what I was told, not that he meddles a lot in these situations. You know, owners, typically when there are questionable or big personnel decisions, or when there's a guy that there maybe a team is interested in who's had some off-field trouble, owners have to step up and say, like, okay, I approve this. Robert hasn't typically meddled with Bill what he has done.
Right.
But my understanding was that Kraft told Belichick basically like, hey, Tom is a Patriot. When he no longer wants to be a Patriot, like, he will tell us when he wants to go. Kind of putting the pressure on that. And it's a unique situation because you have the greatest coach of all time, you have the greatest quarterback of all time, and an owner who really, like you said, has an emotional connection to this player. Yeah. And it's just an odd power dynamic in a really the best dynasty we've seen ever. Yeah. So
it spanned 2 decades.
Yeah. And I give Bill a lot of credit, and Robert is a big part of this. But it's that cold efficiency, business-like approach where you don't value anyone else over the system that has got the Patriots what they've earned.
Right.
So I'll go to my question now. If you're Bill Belichick, you're entering this season now with Brian Hoyer and Jarrett Stidham and whatever comes in the draft. Are you telling me that the New England Patriots have a better chance to win with that than they did with an aging Tom Brady who knows the system, who knows everything?
No, I don't think they do. I mean, Brian Hoyer, come on, man.
I'm with you, but that's why I'm saying if you're Bill, why don't you?
I saw something saying, okay, they got Brian Hoyer, they got Stidham, and then whoever the other dude is,
Cody Kessler. Yeah, whoever the other dude is. That's exactly right.
That's another dude. They're all 3 dudes, and that they're probably done at quarterback. But I'm just like, I don't believe that. I feel like even if it's a 1-year rental, Cam Newton is going to be on the streets very soon. If you're Bill Belichick, do you not bring in Cam Newton, kick the tires, and draft somebody? I mean, or are you like, you know what? We are the Patriots. We are a machine, and I'm going to prove to these people that I can even win with Brian Hoyer and as my bridge. Do you think that that's like, is he that firmly entrenched in his belief in himself, or do you go out there? I mean, I cannot see them doing it with Andy Dalton or somebody like that. Would you pass?
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at what's on the market, and like Jameis, I don't think that's happening because if there's anyone who values holding onto the football, it's Bill Belichick. Yes. I just do not see a scenario when that's happening. But let's remember, Bill's 67 years old. Yeah. He's about to turn 68. I know he loves it. I know this is his life, and it helps when he has his sons next to him on the staff. But he doesn't have a whole lot of time left as an NFL head coach, I don't think. I mean, actually, maybe he does. I mean, who knows? I mean, but it's just I would think that if I'm him, like, I don't want to go into a rebuild.
But I almost wonder if it's almost the challenge. Like, I wrote about this, and I keep on saying it. Like with Brady, I'm a huge Michael Jordan fan, and it was so fascinating when he came to the Wizards. I hung on every single daily report because that thing was just so fascinating that the greatest player of all time would go to this scrub team because he wanted that challenge to show he could still play and also that he could carry a team that was just atrocious and elevate them. So Brady goes like that book, When Nothing Else Matters, about Jordan and all that was fascinating. And I almost feel like Brady's at that point where when nothing else matters, he's playing because he wants to, and he wants this challenge to show he can carry Tampa Bay. Maybe Bill is like, look, I got 6 rings. I've done everything. You know what? It's not going to hurt my legacy. Let me go out there and show that I can win with Brian Hoyer and do a quick rebuild, you know, and make another playoff run in the next 2-3 years. Maybe he's at that point like, look, I don't care. I'm just going to do it my way, and I'm going to show that I don't need a name.
Yeah.
I am the greatness behind this. Tom Brady was great, but I was even greater.
That could be true. And like everyone points to the Matt Castle year, and I don't think we're in a similar situation because remember the Patriots went undefeated in the regular season the year before that. Like they had an all-time team.
Yeah.
Like I don't think this Patriots roster, and by the way, they've had a lot of departures on defense.
Yes, they did.
I almost think that's the story we should be talking about because the defense really is what carried them. So I don't think this Patriots team is necessarily built, even if they had Tom back, to really like compete with the Chiefs or contend with, you know, other teams that have gotten better this offseason. The Cam Newton thing to me is really, really interesting because it's not necessarily a fit in terms of offensive style, but if there is one coach who has been able to adapt his scheme offensively or defensively or whatever, even on a weekly basis, according to the opponent they were going to face, it is this one.
Right.
And let's not forget.
On guys.
What's that?
Showing he'll take a risk on guys.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
The cast-offs.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I just wonder, like, Cam's skill set, like, again, he has to be healthy. He has to be healthy for this to work. But you're not telling me that Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick can come up with something that highlights his strengths? That's literally what they've done with everyone. And listen, if Cam is healthy, and I think what the Panthers did was right, I'm sorry, what the Panthers did in terms of saying, hey, have your surgeries, get healthy, we'll reassess. Because Cam was not the same player between the shoulder and then obviously the foot. He just needed time to heal. So if he is healthy, he's still fairly young. I mean, he's still you've stood next to him. Like he's just an physically imposing figure who's strong. He has the arm strength. Let's even create a system where you don't need him to run the ball like he did in 2015 when he won the MVP. You don't need that. Keep him in the pocket. But he does have that ability to extend plays. He does have that ability to, if nothing is there, sort of scramble and improvise. He can still do that. And I would be like, man, you add him and the Patriots and a couple more little, key pieces here and there. I really dig that. And part of me is I like watching Cam. I think it would be just a fascinating experiment.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you think about what the Patriots offense was the last couple of years, it was a run heavy offense.
Yeah.
A
lot of
quick short, because I know that Jimmy Garoppolo struggled when he first, adapting a little bit to the San Francisco offense because there was a lot of downfield stuff.
Yeah.
It's not as much timing stuff. Yeah. Short, get the ball out quickly. Cam, he's got a big arm, but you don't even have to go downfield. Rely on the run game, play action, boom, extend the play.
Yeah. One of the things the Patriots did better than anyone was having Brady, like you said, quick release, quick passes, but he made his running backs receiving weapons.
Right.
Cam was able to do that with Christian McCaffrey.
Yes.
Like I think if that's a key element, you can incorporate that. Cam, like, it's not like the Panthers receivers were super talented over the past couple of years. The Patriots have done a lot of crossing routes, a lot of stuff in the middle with the occasional deep shot. Cam can do that. I agree with you. I think it would be awesome. I would love to see that. But I don't. My mind is telling me that's not happening.
I know, but okay, if it's not there, where else does he go? When I'm
I
looking at all
mean,
these teams, there's not a long list of teams because it seems like the Chargers are committed to Tyrod Taylor and drafting somebody. I
yeah,
mean, they might even try to go after Tua. When you look at everybody else, the Raiders I thought could have been a possible fit for Cam, but they've got Derek Carr and they got Mariota.
yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen.
But there have been a lot of whispers. I mean, I've heard a few things that Derek Carr's time in, I guess, Las Vegas now. I almost said Oakland. That's maybe not a marriage that's built for the long haul. And I think there are signs there. You could see Gruden visibly frustrated with Derek at some points in the season.
Oh, I agree.
I think that would stylistically work, but I think that it's one of those things like you're the Patriots. I feel like you could do better.
Yeah.
No
And
offense to Derek Carr, but like,
yeah, but and Mike Mayock loved Mariota
yeah,
coming out
yeah.
and felt very highly that he just needed to be in the right fit and had like an Aaron Rodgers type skill set. So they picked him up. I think that they're looking at, hey, maybe he can be for us what Tannehill was for the Titans last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I don't think Cam there. I mean, the Dolphins.
I think the Dolphins are committed to what they have in the draft.
Yeah.
Honestly, they have so much draft capital that whether they like Burrow or not. I think obviously this time of the year, whatever you hear, half of it is what it is. It's BS.
Right.
But the Dolphins do have that capital where if the Lions at number 3 are really strongly considering Tua or trading out to maybe the Chargers or whoever, the Dolphins could be that team where they say, well, we've been stockpiling draft chips for this, where we're going for Tua at number 3 or whatever, even number 2. If the Redskins really feel like we do like Chase Young, but we'd rather have draft picks, they could do that too.
But I think that Tua is going to need to sit. So that's why I'm like, do you sit him behind Ryan Fitzpatrick or do you go get Cam and sit him behind him?
The Dolphins already went 1 year with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Why not one more? If you feel like you have your quarterback waiting in the wings, who cares?
And then
but again,
since we're talking about the Dolphins, all of a sudden everything's just crazy.
I wonder though.
Josh Rosen?
Yeah.
Would he go to would he be something that
I almost think he would be a great fit. But the problem with Josh, I think, is just that, and I feel for him. He's had a raw deal, man. And I'm not saying that Josh Rosen is like a stud quarterback, but frankly, I just don't know. He's had 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years,
right?
Or in 4 years now. You add another one to the list. It's just that I feel like we always look at quarterbacks who are busts and we say like, oh man, like, this player like did not live up to the hype. But I think sometimes we have to look at the coaches and the teams and their situations and say, yeah, but that dude wasn't placed in a situation where he was literally in any position to succeed.
Yeah.
So, there was a reason Josh Rosen, a lot of evaluators, a lot of teams liked him. There's a reason that he went in the top 10. But again, like you need to put him in a situation where you're challenging him and he needs to be in one system.
Yeah.
I think if he was in New England, let me put it like this. I think it's probably better than what they have now. But unless they really love Jarrett Stidham, I don't know what to tell you. Like, obviously, we're not seeing what they've seen in practice and what they see in the quarterback room. But in the very, 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 very limited time he got, like in mop-up duty,
see.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Andy Dalton does make sense, but because he's going to be available, like
the veteran, he's seen a lot, but
he does have a quick release.
Yeah.
Like I feel like he could make things work for the Patriots.
Is he head and shoulders above Ryan Hoyer though? Ryan Hoyer knows that offense.
I would put him a little bit above Brian Hoyer, but I feel like it's a similar situation.
Yeah, I feel like if you're going to go get Andy Dalton, you might as well just stick with Brian Hoyer because I don't believe in any of them.
Right.
If you're going to just be a game manager and a bridge, go with Hoyer because he knows that offense and he's going to be great for teaching this guy that you're drafting for the next year, or a young guy that you acquire like a Rosen to learn behind him. But I just don't feel like Andy Dalton, he doesn't do anything for me now. He's not intriguing like Cam.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you 100%.
So if you don't get me Cam Newton, Bill Belichick, get Josh Rosen, sit him behind Brian Hoyer, and then turn it over to him next year.
Or just tank and then get Trevor Lawrence when he comes out of the draft the next year.
But Bill Belichick wants no part of tanking.
I know.
He can't, unless they like trade the farm up there. I don't think.
I know.
He just for his legacy, he doesn't want it to look like, oh, he let Brady go and now he sucks.
2-14. Oof. Yeah, you can't have that happen.
Yeah, he can't. That's why I'm saying.
It's just fascinating though, because this is like uncharted waters for this team, this franchise. Really, we have just not seen this. And I know people always say like, oh, was it Belichick? Was it Brady? I've seen a lot of people talking about this. Let me say right now, whatever happens next year or the year after that, I don't think you can. That's not a definitive answer, in my opinion. Because let me put it like this: like Tom, all-time great quarterback. But as he is right now, I don't think he's the Brady that we had seen before. I mean, he's an aging quarterback, right? His skill set has diminished a little bit. He's still very, very, very good.
You still take him over half the quarterbacks out there.
Right. But I don't think you can point to after 20 years, 9 Super Bowl appearances, 6 rings, if Brady does well on a very nice, as we've said, Tampa Bay team, and the Patriots struggle, I don't think you could say like, oh well, I guess it was all Tom. Likewise, if you flip
unless he gets them to the second round of the playoffs and Bill Belichick is 2-14. But yeah, I think it's both of them. I think it's peanut butter and jelly.
It was a perfect marriage.
It's chocolate and peanut butter. It's just the perfect together.
Yeah. We got to talk about some of the teams. We've been talking about the Patriots nonstop over here.
Yes.
But it's fascinating. I love it. All right, so give me some other surprises. What surprised you?
I don't know if there were a whole lot of surprises in just. I was surprised about Amari Cooper taking less money to stay at Dallas, but I get it because, look, if you have comfort there and you know what your quarterback situation is, I don't care how much the Redskins are offering you. If there's questions about their commitment to Haskins or how long or whatever, right now that your window, you've got something going with Dak, and at least he's going to be there for another year, and I think that Dallas is going to wind up – I feel like they've got to wind up taking care of him. So I understand him staying there. Or do you –
Taking care of –
had some Dak insight.
Taking care of who? Dak?
Amari Cooper went back there because he believes the Cowboys in the long run are going to take care of Dak.
I would hope that was a big reason why he went back there. We talked about this. I think a lot of people around the league were questioning the Cooper deal. And I say this with the caveat, like I never like to talk trash on the deals that players sign because they have their own motivations. But as you mentioned, and as from the conversations we've had with people around the league, it's clear to me that Amari at the very least could have gotten more money, whether it was with Dallas or whether it was with Washington or even just letting it play out. What surprised me with Amari was how fast it got done. He was legitimately, you could make an argument really that he was the most dangerous offensive weapon available on the market because of his age and because of, the position that he plays is that it's a deep draft. I get that. I think that maybe hurt his market a little bit because a lot of teams are probably saying, well, why am I going to pay Amari 21, 22, whatever, $23 million a year if I can just wait and see if I can trade up to get Jerry Jeudy or whoever, So I think that played in there. But if you're Amari, the Cowboys have $73 around there $1 million in cap space. The Cowboys, I know Jerry Jones is always acting like he's strapped for cash. Yeah. Listen, man, I do not that is one con that I'm sorry, sell that somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm not buying that. They have money to pay players, especially now when they've had so many departures on defense.
Yeah.
They've had, I mean, they always, this is what drives me crazy. They always had money to pay these guys.
Right.
They had been allotting money in the cap to pay Dak. At some point, they're the ones, they are legitimately the ones who slow played this and said, well, I guess we're going to franchise him, because I mean, they're the ones who did it. They knew this. So it's not like they had to get creative to create space. No, I don't buy that at all. So if you're Amari Cooper, maybe you love Dallas. Maybe you really feel like you jive with Dak. But let's remember, Dak was looking at Michael Gallup a lot at the end of the year. You could, I'm not saying this, but you could make points that potentially Gallup was Dak's number one target down the stretch. There's a new head coach in Dallas. I think that makes things interesting. I would imagine that that Cooper feels very, very comfortable with Mike McCarthy, and I think the fact that Kellen Moore is still there is helpful. But the Dak thing, I just don't get this. I don't understand it, because so Eugene Parker, I mean, one of the greatest agents of all time. Mm-hmm. When I started covering the league, I got to know him a little bit, just, conversation that you would have at the combine here and there. Yeah. And he told me something that just really stands out to me now when I think about this. He said, playmakers always get paid. No matter who you are, if you're a playmaker, you're going to get paid. Right. And he said, if you're a team and you have a young star, what are you going to do? What is their objective as a team? Their goal is to keep their young asset for as little cost as possible, right? They want to keep their star players, but minimize what they pay them on the open market. The Dallas Cowboys had a young franchise quarterback that, there are whispers that maybe they didn't fully believe that Dak was the guy, but for better or worse, whether that's true or not, you basically chose him over Tony Romo. Right. And he's been your starter for 4 seasons now. If you're the Cowboys, why don't you do what the Eagles did with Carson Wentz, right? What the Rams did with Jared Goff? You go in early and you try to lock up a deal where, yes, there is some risk because you're paying a young player who doesn't necessarily have a huge sample size. So what if his production suffers? Yes, there's a risk in signing players. But you look at what the Cowboys have done now. So they basically forego, they did not do that, right? Yeah. So now you have Dak Prescott on a franchise tag that's going to pay him an exclusive franchise tag that's going to pay him around $32-33 million. Right. So now by doing that, Dak's people know that they have the leverage here.
For sure.
Because they can sign the tag and then they can play 1 season. Dak, for better or worse, has had to prove it on his own because he was a 4th-round rookie. Like, it's not like he came in with all of this hype where he was the guy from day one. Oh, no, he I mean, granted, the Romo injury worked out in his favor, but he's had to bet on himself. So at the end of this offseason, let's say Dak even has an average year. What's the play? Either Dak hits the open market, where he's a young quarterback, 26, 27, I don't know how old he is right off the top of my head, but he's hitting the open market, which if you're a young quarterback, that's what you want because you're about to get paid with a capital P. But let's say the Cowboys tag him again. Yep. 30. So then you're talking 37, maybe even 40, because we have to look at what the CBA does. Remember, the new CBA kicks in. And I know we've had these conversations where people are saying, yeah, it's kind of a tricky time to be doing deals because we just don't know what that money is going to look like. Right. But a lot of agents that I've talked to are saying, yeah, I'm telling guys, take short-term deals. And then when that new CBA hits, when that new gambling money hits, when the new TV deal money hits, this salary cap is going to explode. Right. So if you're a franchise quarterback and if you're Dak Prescott's team, you're sitting there, unless the Cowboys come to me with like a mint of an offer, I'm not accepting anything.
No.
Because I imagine they feel confident that Dak can play well.
Mm-hmm.
Mike McCarthy's a good coach. The team, the Cowboys, again, they'll have to get creative in how they fill some of these departures that they've had. But I don't think they were ever going to pay Byron Jones that money anyway.
No.
Like the departures that they've had, I think the Cowboys more or less were planning for. So if you're Prescott, you play the tag, you play on the tag in 2020, you play on the tag in 2021, you come away with 72, $73 million. So you're looking at a payday of 36 around there. Let's call it 36 million APY.
Right.
So you're getting basically Russell Wilson money for 2 years.
Right.
And then you hit the open market where the Cowboys aren't tagging you a third time.
No, it's the Kirk Cousins and Mike McCartney.
Yes, it's that play.
Get him mixed up with Mike McCarthy on Twitter all the time.
Right. It's great.
But they showed the perfect example of this. So Dak's people are not going to take anything less than the franchise tag number this year. Next year, they're not going to take anything. If the Cowboys are giving them a deal that's less than the franchise tag this year and next year on the average, they're not doing it because they know they can just slow play this thing and look, the rules are set in place that we're supposed to get 36, 37 million next year. And then it'll go up. And like you said, then they hit the open market, just like Kirk Cousins did with Washington for 2 straight years. And then he hits the market 3 years fully guaranteed. And then he got another extension. And he was a 4th round pick, used to betting on himself, has always been durable. Dak, 4th round pick, correct?
Yep.
Has not missed a game.
Nope.
We used to betting on himself. People criticize him, but he can't lose here. I think he's playing this exactly the way that he has to.
I would even argue that Dak, it is the Kirk Cousins playbook, but remember, Washington didn't have as much of a sample size on Kirk when they tagged him the first time. Kirk, I think he had been a starter, 1 year?
Like 1 year and then part of another one, yeah.
And 1.5.
Yeah.
So at the time, Washington was like, yeah, we like Kirk, sure, but let's see a little more of him, which in that case, I think it made sense. But you've seen 4 years of Dak, and you've seen him, he's improved, because the questions with Dak always were, oh, but is this Zeke doing it or is it Dak doing it? I think last year proved that Dak can play. A lot of people love or hate Dak. I understand it. It's a preference thing, but at the very least, I think he showed he can lead a team.
Yeah.
So, and then here's the other thing, and I know this for a fact because I was texting with Dak's guys. They were doing cartwheels when Ryan Tannehill signed his deal.
Oh, I'm sure.
They were. I remember texting. I was like, "Did you see the numbers?" And the person said, "Yeah," eyes emoji, the big eyes emoji, and then thumbs up.
Yeah.
Because you look at the market, and it's gonna $30 million. The Titans proved is what it's gonna cost for a starting quarterback.
Yes.
That's just what it costs on the market, right? So the Cowboys had to know that they were going to spend that kind of money anyway.
It was just stubbornness and a lack of foresight. You knew that you're going to have to pay it, but you're just dragging it out because you can instead of just taking care of it. But if you talk to anybody in the league, they'll tell you, yeah, Dak is, some of them will tell you they'd rather have Dak over Wentz and Goff. So just awful foresight on the Cowboys' part not to get them paid and take.
Not only that, but the lack of communication.
Yeah.
Because I think it became clear at the start of last season, there were some negotiations going on.
Right.
My sense is that an offer was made that was kind of a lowball offer.
Mm-hmm.
And basically Dak was like, listen, I'm done with this. I'm going to play, and we'll talk about this at the end of the year.
Yeah.
He has a good year, but the Cowboys, they weren't they weren't proactive. And Steven even admitted this. He said basically like, yeah, we haven't had any contact. He said that at the combine. And you're thinking, what the hell are you guys doing?
Right.
Like obviously the Amari talks were in the works, because with how quickly that deal got done,
Right.
it leads you to believe that both sides were, it was clear that they were going to work something out. But Amari's a receiver, and if he doesn't have a quarterback to throw him the ball, and again, the franchise tag was always there. But again, if you're the Cowboys, like it's like the table is set for you.
Yeah.
You just cook, or like the ingredients are there. Just cook the meal. Like all you have to do is just negotiate a little bit and wheel and deal and do what you do. But I just wonder, like in 2022, the start of 2022, is Dak Prescott the starting quarterback of the Cowboys? I mean, who knows? At this point, who knows?
I think so. I think that I don't think Jerry lets that happen. The other thing is Cousins didn't trust Redskins ownership and their decision makers. Dak knows that the Cowboys love him. So I think that it's a different type of element. So I do think they get something done. It's just silly that it's like everybody knows what you got to pay for this. So just do it. And the longer you take, the more you're costing yourself.
I just think in terms, they've cost themselves millions and millions of dollars in salary cap space. There's no question. But I think teams can get creative with the way you manage the salary cap. More than anything, I think they've just cost themselves valuable leverage. Because, again, I go back to what Eugene Parker told me. Like, teams will do whatever they can to keep the rights of a young asset on the cheap. Obviously, that's what they want, but teams don't let, like, playmakers walk by and large. Right. At least not at the quarterback position.
No.
So
hard to come by.
I just don't get it. It's again, love or hate Dak. To me, it just boils down to this: it's just not smart football business.
No,
the way I see it, at least. That's just my take. And
exactly.
I don't know, but it's gonna be interesting.
It's fascinating. And I think another reason why Jerry gets it done is because Jerry is getting up there. He doesn't have time to go through a whole nother rebuild and grooming of a quarterback and everything. That's why he hired Mike McCarthy, because he wants a guy who's going to get this team to win right now. You can't start all over at quarterback. And you're definitely, there's not going to be guys that are better than Dak on the market.
But remember, this is a team that wanted Paxton Lynch, that wanted Connor Cook. From what I've heard on the Cowboys side, there were a few people who were like, yeah, Dak, whatever. It took Wade Wilson, their former quarterbacks coach, to like stand on the table and pound his fist on the table in the draft room and say, I want this guy. Like we need to get this guy. And I've heard from a few people that if Wilson doesn't make that pitch, Dak's probably not on the Cowboys. Maybe that's a little bit of hyperbole. I don't. But again, just Jerry Jones literally admitted. He's admitted that he wanted to trade for Paxton Lynch. He wanted to get Connor Cook. So
making it stars that didn't happen.
Yeah. Let me ask you one more question.
Yeah.
Give me your top value signing, because I know you've been all over the signings here, and that's where I feel like that's where the smart teams do this. I've got one in mind that I really, really love. I don't mean to put you on. So I can talk about mine.
Yeah, give me yours. Give me yours.
Emmanuel Sanders to the Saints.
Oh yeah.
I think on 2 years, 16 or something.
Yeah.
I love that deal, man. I love that deal, because as we said, the Saints window is kind of, it's closing. They got to do it. But Emmanuel's, he's not what he was when he was in Denver, but it showed that he still can make plays.
And putting him opposite Michael Thomas now.
Oof.
I mean,
Yeah, I love. I'm telling you, I love that. And you don't know the other reason why I love it is because if there's one thing that Emmanuel does well, it's his route running.
right.
And I think when you have a quarterback like Drew Brees, who's so accurate, who can anticipate throws and basically throw receivers open, I think it's going to work. I will say though, I don't know what Mickey Loomis is doing. I never know. I don't understand the
Yeah.
Saints salary cap. I feel like there's going to be one season when like Mickey Loomis retires, the Saints are going to go bankrupt or something. Like they
Yeah.
just keep kicking the can down the road, and I'm wondering, like, man, at some point you're going to have to pay for that. But
And it's about
they,
to happen after this, I think. I think
yeah,
so. But these weren't value actually signings or value acquisitions. The Cardinals getting DeAndre Hopkins.
oh gosh,
Deal. I mean, I
yeah,
don't like Steve Keim normally, but I'm just saying, good job pulling the fleece over, just fleecing Bill O'Brien, who is trying to get himself fired.
we got to talk a little bit about Bill, man. I know this pod is running long, but I mean I'm glad because I've been missing football talk because I feel like
Right.
we haven't been
Hey,
talking about it.
nobody's got anything to do right now.
Yeah,
Anyway.
seriously.
Trapped in our houses. So,
Dude, what the? Like,
I
what are
mean,
you doing?
seriously, that right there, the guy's decisions the last year to give Clowney away for a third-round pick, to give up all those picks for Laramie Tunzel and not get a contract extension, just you're scratching your head. And now to give up DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson, who's hurt a lot, and a second-round pick, whatever. Like, dude,
Oh, he was deep. I think it was a fourth rounder, but yeah, like.
what are you doing? David Johnson, second and a fourth. There we go.
Oh, I think you meant he was.
David Johnson,
Yeah,
and what they got back.
yeah.
I just you need to make life easier for Deshaun Watson.
Also,
He's got a contract situation coming up as well, and you rob him of his best guy. You are proving that you should not be a decision maker. You're just a coach. And then you're going to frustrate your quarterback to the point where he's like, you know what? I don't want to sign a long-term deal here.
Yeah. I mean,
and if you're the Cardinals, to get Hopkins opposite Larry Fitzgerald, who I think still got a little bit left in the tank, just a little bit, to help
with Kyler Murray.
I mean, this makes life easier for Fitzgerald.
Kenyon Drake.
Murray. I mean, just like,
Ooh.
I mean, that was the best deal of the whole. I mean, I know the Bucs scored big with Brady, but that right there, getting Hopkins,
100%,
just huge.
100%, man. And the thing that drives me crazy about the Texans thing is that, yes, at David Johnson's best, he is a better running back than Duke Johnson, but Duke Johnson, by and large, can do a lot of the same things in terms of like being a receiver out of the backfield.
Yes.
Duke Johnson can do that. Duke Johnson can literally, I think you could put him in the slot and he could play.
And he's durable.
And he's cheaper, which like I know you like Carlos Hyde isn't there, but come on, man. Like it just like Nuke Hopkins, he's a 3-time consecutive All-Pro. I think it's in the conversation.
One game as well. His whole career.
In the conversation of top receivers, I think we're talking like Michael Thomas, in no particular order. It's Michael Thomas, Hopkins, Julio, Odell, if he gets his act together, maybe. Mike Evans, those guys. Right. But there's no top 5.
Nobody can put one together without Hopkins.
I would say no top 3 without Nuke in there.
Yeah.
And I know they were butting heads, but man, like, see, this is my problem, because like bad coaches have this stuff. Like, you don't see good coaches really butting heads with their players to the point where they're like getting rid of him. And I know he wanted a new contract, but look, listen, his performance exceeded his pay.
Right.
So yes, you have to pay a player like that. And maybe the Texans feel like, you know what, we weren't going to pay him, and we feel like we can get similar production out of other players. If that's the case, then God bless you, man.
Yeah, but there's nobody on your roster because the other guys, Will Fuller and Kenny Stills, Will Fuller cannot stay on the field.
But
and Hopkins, like I said, has missed in 7 years. Has only missed one game.
Yep.
Not only was he just a monster production-wise, he also was reliable. So
Oh my gosh.
somebody who's as productive and as reliable, a game changer.
I'll add to that. The reason why Kenny Stills was able to have decent success, the reason why Will Fuller was able to have decent success, aside from Deshaun Watson throwing the ball, is that you have a guy like Hopkins.
Yes.
You know, because teams would double, sometimes literally triple cover him.
Yeah.
So that just opens up everything. This is a move where, for the short term, if I'm Bill O'Brien, I'm doing some serious like damage control. And I know it's kind of tricky with like, you know, coaches aren't supposed to be talking to players necessarily, but if I'm him, I'm sending feelers that like, listen, I know it's a tough move, but like just have faith in me. Because if the Houston Texans, in a very winnable division, if they just struggle, if they come out of the gate slow, this could just blow up in his face.
Badly.
The locker room, this is a move where the locker room could unravel.
Yeah.
Just look at the reaction that players, Hopkins' old teammates, had on Twitter.
Yeah.
That's all you need to see. You saw the Deshaun Watson video, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was all of Houston.
Yeah.
And I just don't get it. I just don't get it. And again, I know the contract was coming.
Manager.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like, listen, there's a reason why Bill Belichick is like literally the only one who's been able to do this for so long at a high level. Right. Like, it's not easy. And I want to like Bill O'Brien. I really do. But if you trade Clowney and you trade Hopkins and you don't get one first rounder,
what are you doing?
Seriously, man. Like, I don't. The thing is, that team was set up to, like, you have a quarterback, you have a receiver. A lot of people think Clowney's overrated. I get it. But let's say you trade Clowney, but
still get more for him. You can't get – well, they messed up the situation with the franchise tag and everything. So he just bought the whole thing. And then just – you've got to get more for him. Yes, I understand, okay, guy doesn't fit anymore, but you have to – he's still a good player. You can't – you know, and look at their defense last year. They were like 28th in the league last year. They were one of the worst as far as getting sacks. If you had
offensive line is always a problem.
Yeah, if you had Clowney on that defense last year, maybe you do a better job. Maybe, I don't know, nobody was beating Mahomes last year, but you have a better chance. You need your offensive line rebuilt. That's why you've got to hold out and get really high picks for this thing. And just Bill O'Brien, again, trying to get himself fired. Because, you know, first Clowney, then Hopkins, then Laremy Tunsil's going to walk next year.
You know who I think this team could use is Rick Smith.
Yep. Like, that's what they need for sure.
Or just someone in that capacity. It's just,
yeah.
I feel like you also, if you're Bill O'Brien, like I said, it is a winnable division. You know, the Jaguars are going through their stuff, but you're looking at the Titans now and you're saying, well, they've got a good thing going.
Yeah, they do.
Like,
and you look at the Colts up there, who, you know,
does this move get you closer to being the top team in the South?
No, you're taking steps backwards. You're not at all positioning yourself to win that division. Because I was like, look, he better have something up his sleeve, and then all of a sudden Buffalo gets Stephon Diggs in their trade. So I'm like, okay, well, nope, he doesn't have that up his sleeve. I was like, if he's giving him away, he's got to have something else he's about to pull off as a wide receiver. But no,
I would suspect it's through the draft. Again, it's a deep receiver draft.
Yeah,
but if you're going to pull a move like this, you better be damn sure, number one, that the player you're targeting is going to be available where you're picking, or you're going to have to make a trade. And number two, that once you've drafted said player, that at the very least, he's going to be 80%, 70% of what Nuke Hopkins was. That's a big ask. That's a big ask. Yeah. Again, we were talking about the Cowboys, like just bad football management. Yeah. That's what this is.
Exactly.
And if you're the Cardinals, like you said, I'm with you, man.
Yeah.
I feel like I fall for this every year. There's one team that's getting hyped up. Last year was the Browns. I was like, ooh, I'm feeling this. There's some sizzle here. I feel like the Cardinals are going to be that team for me. And I'm trying to say, like,
I'm not going to say they're going to be amazing, but I do think that, I mean, that's a tough division they're in.
That's the problem, yeah.
But I like the steps that they're taking forward.
Yeah.
They're making steps. We got to do this again.
Let's do it, man.
It's going to be a more intrigue, and we'll see whatever happens with getting all these OTAs going and everything like that. Tell everybody once again where they can find you. So
I'm at Lorenzo G Reyes on Twitter.
I still have not figured out the middle name. If you guys remember last time I was trying, I think Gomez was mine.
He's been throwing out some crazy suggestions. Let me tell you. Let me tell you one thing. I felt like you were about to get it, and you've taken a step back, man. You got to get on your game here.
If you guys have Italian G.
Oh no, you can't crowdsource. No, man.
That hey, I'm talking to my 3 fans. Hit me up because I need to win this thing here. Anyway, hope you guys have a great win, Zoe. I will let you get back to it. Thank you so much for coming on. I feel like we could do this all the time.
Absolutely. Anytime, my man.
Take the link, spread it to your friends, leave me a review. Everybody stay safe out there. Don't play around. Listen to what they're telling us about the social distancing.
For sure. And listen, everyone's at home. You got time to kill. Like, fire up this podcast. Like, let's get this going. Let's talk about. Listen, the one thing I will say, the NFL, you can criticize maybe that they shouldn't have been doing this, but I will say, as a sports fan, like, at the very least, we're talking about this, man. And I think it's a nice distraction. Obviously, we're all thinking about people affected by this, but it's been rough, man. I was really looking forward to this stretch of the NBA season.
Yeah, you were exactly right. It's been really sad, really depressing. And you know what? A little bit of sports we have is a nice diversion, and hopefully everything kind of blows over in a couple weeks, and before you know it, we're back to normal.
Absolutely. Well said.
All right, man. Thanks so much. Hey, hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you next week.